So, my good people, hope everybody's having a beautiful day. It is a beautiful day, and I'm getting ready for tonight's Dynamite. Looking forward to it. Out here just enjoying this weather right now, and I want to address a couple of things. Now, one thing I want to address is one. I love the job that AEW has been doing with Kevin Knight. Now, I remember Kevin Knight, watching him in his stint in TNA, watching him in Japan. Kevin Knight is a very, very solid talent. And, when Jay White got hurt, that gave him an opportunity to step in, and he basically stepped in and stepped up. Now, as far as the future, you never know how far a person's going to go. How a company's going to use a person, but Kevin Knight is solid, man, and I like his work for sure. And it's obvious that AEW, they see the value in him as well. Now, once again, you have to see what happens with each guy. But right now, for example, him, guys like AR Fox, Commander, just so many people, man. Bandito. Like these young talents, man, Speedball, Mike Bailey, they just have, their roster is so stacked that if you pay attention to like who they have, you really just, if you sit and think, and you'll go like, damn, they really have a lot of people, but they have a lot of great talent. I love the balance that AEW has, and I've never been a guy who liked these long drawn out storylines where they just push and they milk it until it gets to the point where it's like, man, would you just have the match already, or the match doesn't live up to the hype? You have two people trying to, kill each other backstage. They can't wait to get their hands on each other just to go have a technical match. Like, where's the cage match at? Where's the, where's this grudge match? Where's the, the weapons match or something to that effect, right? There's just a lot that goes on, man. It's an act, it's a show, we know it. But at the same time, I don't know that any amount of money is worth the damage that they do to their bodies. Honestly, I really don't. I mean, you can say yes, and at the same time, you can say no. Because there's a lot that goes into it. This is one of the reasons why when you hear certain wrestlers say how they don't want to do certain type of matches or certain stories, they just feel disappointed in, because it should lead to something. Like, example, Jade Cargill versus Naomi. That should have been in a goddamn steel cage, or some type of match where you see, like when you saw Toni Storm versus Mariah May, something to that effect. Things like that. This woman tried to take you out, and you basically just want to come back and just win a wrestling match. That's it. So it was one of those situations. Now, the reality of, how a company see a wrestler and how we see them, the reality of that is we are not always on the same page, because there's certain wrestlers that, companies will use and you're like, why? And then there's certain people that you look and they're not using them and you say, why not? But I love the direction AEW is going into, and I think people need to stop with these unrealistic, expectations of what a company is supposed to do. And everybody's, the funny thing is this, so you ask a person, what's the biggest wrestling promotion in the world? They'll say the WWE, right? So why is it that the expectations for AEW or anything else is to, be able to surpass what they can't even do? But when they do surpass them in certain ways, do certain things, a lot of things better than them, it's like, hey, but they still didn't do this or that. Not to mention, you're comparing a company that's in the double digits, okay? Way up in the double digits in terms of their existence, versus a company that's 6 years old. And look at what they've done already. It's like when I look at TNA, I wonder if people realize that TNA are also in double digits. They're 22 years old, 20-something years old, TNA. 20-something years old, man, that company. Okay, when did they come out? 2000, 2001? 2001. So yeah, we talking about a 24-year-old company, and people are acting like this company, like TNA, is just new because they have a partnership with the WWE to hope that will prevent people like a Josh Alexander or others from leaving TNA and going to AEW. Hey, jump ship over here, which, yeah, they tried to get Josh. Josh told the story. He turned down the WWE. Several wrestlers turned down the WWE. Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay. There's several people. Mercedes Moné. Several people have turned it down and came to AEW. And then you let the haters talk. They should have went to WWE, or they should have went back to WWE. They were better than WWE. No. That's just a foolish perspective, a biased perspective, and people who just like to run their mouth and be heard, but don't know what they're talking about. My thing is this: if I like seeing people in WWE or AEW, I feel like certain wrestlers isn't a good fit for AEW, and I feel like certain wrestlers isn't a good fit for WWE or TNA. That's just the way it is. It's like if you're a boxer and you're a brawler, right? And you like to get on the inside and bang to the body, go upstairs, mix it up, and if your trainer is used to guys that float, stick, and move, it may be very difficult for him to adjust to train you the way you need to be trained, and vice versa. And then you have certain trainers that's like more of a hybrid of a trainer. They can adjust to different styles. Josh Alexander said it best. He said that he's not a guy that his character stands out and really pops. Like, it's what he does in the ring. And you see, a guy like Josh Alexander, they already, had Chad Gable as the next Kurt Angle. But you see how they treated Chad Gable, how they still do it. You got the silly, goofy gimmicks. They make him a nerdy type guy. A guy like Josh Alexander, who is a solid wrestler, you want to book him in matches where he's going to be able to show his skill set. And Josh is not shy to go to that microphone and talk, but when it comes to the sports entertainment stuff, character-wise, you can always touch up or improve on things. But Josh, like his character, like you said, he's not a guy you're gonna look at and obviously he had this look like Sting or the Ultimate Warrior, or Jeff Hardy comes out there dancing with the face paint on and all that. Like different people just have a certain look that stands out, and that screams entertainment. Even if they are solid in the ring. But I don't feel Josh Alexander is a good fit in the WWF either, WWE as well, because I feel like Josh Alexander would be over there watered down. They'll talk about how deadly he is, but he'll find himself in the weirdest scenarios, the weakest of scenarios. WWE isn't a company that focuses on professional wrestling. They focus on sports entertainment. Josh Alexander is a professional wrestler. Okay, and the balance that goes in between being a professional wrestler and an entertainer in AEW is well balanced, and it's not something that WWE fans are going to understand. But this is where the hypocrisy comes in as well, because a lot of these WWE fans are talking about they don't care about wrestling, they care about story. Tell me a story. Story. Okay, and that's what it is, and show me good promo skills. Tell me your story. Pick up the microphone and speak and say this and say that, right? So wait a minute. If that's the case and you don't care about wrestling, like I said before, that is one of the dumbest comments I've ever heard. Is I don't watch wrestling for the wrestling, I watch it for the entertainment. Once again, let me bring it back. That's like saying I don't go to a restaurant for the food, I go there for the menu. Okay? That's incredibly stupid, and it makes zero sense. For me, my question to those people is this: if you don't care about wrestling, what is attracting you to Stephanie Van Kier? Because she's not good at cutting promos in English. She can't get in and roast anybody or say anything to carry a storyline. The only thing she does is little short sentences to just, you want to fight me, I accept. You understand what I'm saying? She can't really. Same with Asuka. Okay. Same with Io Sky. Same with Shinsuke Nakamura, where these guys don't do long. So what is it that attracted you about them if you don't care about wrestling? Because they're not cutting good promos. They're not giving you good stories. And if you're going to build a story around a person, that means the other person has to carry the story. So why are you not giving them that credit? So if you say, I love Stephanie Vaquer, I love Julia, it's not because of their fucking promo skills. It's not because of what they say. It's because of what they do. So this is why I don't understand how you make exceptions for certain people. That's no exception. If that's the case, you should say that they suck because they can't cut promos and tell stories. You say it about everybody else. So, these type of goofy things that people say, it just really makes me wonder, like, how stupid a person can be. To be stupid and proud of it is really not a good thing. But yeah, I like what I'm seeing in AEW, man. I love what I'm seeing. And the people that they have, that's what I love about having Collision when they have Rampage as well as a third show. Like I said, they don't need another belt, they don't need a champion of Collision and a separate champion, like world champion of Dynamite, like Raw and SmackDown have. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it can make sense if you do it right, but it's not necessary. So my thing with that has always been, every company should do things in a way where it's dignified, and I'm not copying this company. I'm not going to take what they do and then just put a little twist on it. It's going to be, our way. I'm really big on authenticity. I don't believe, hey, they're doing this. Yes, of course, you're going to have wrestling where there's certain matches that, okay, like Battle Royals or cage matches. Somebody will take a cage match and just call it something different than what another company's calling it, okay? There's different things that, you're going to see that's similar. You're going to see, it's wrestling, okay? And for me, I don't find it necessary to create a match type and then don't do it again. Or find a way to perfect it if it didn't go the way you wanted to go initially. So, AEW, they have a lot of great things going on. And I think that, the path that they're on right now, people want change, man. Before they made their debut, the wrestling world was screaming for change. The problem in terms of pro wrestling is it really doesn't have the type of effect that the NBA or the NFL has. Like, for example, have you ever seen the NFL perform in front of like 200 people, 300 people? No. They're always going to have, even if they're not having a sellout crowd, they're going to at least have 10,000 people, at least. And you talking from state to state, from like you're going all these different teams. You got to look at what's actually happening all around the world, man. So when a particular genre isn't excelling to where every company is able to get, sell out 10,000 seat arenas or things of that nature. So wrestling has its fan base of, if you want to say wrestling fans, then you have a fan base of people that fans only of certain promotions. So it is what it is, man. The problem that people are always going to have is adjusting and accepting what's different. I look at what Mercedes Moné is doing, what Toni Storm is doing. I love the promo that they cut. See, and this is my point, because they're not going to have that same promo 20 fucking times. That's exactly my point. When Toni Storm, see, you guys are more concerned about people cracking jokes on each other and being, insulting and all, but I like that grown-up conversation, man. When she said, we struggled on the independent circuits. We both came in this business and, we put our work in, and we came to AEW and became who we were supposed to be, who we were meant to be. Man, that was so powerful. I love that. See, you guys are more concerned with, do you think that I'm afraid of you? It doesn't matter what you like. Okay, right, we get it. That's the type of shit. It's about variety. It's not about a particular blueprint of this is what everybody's going to do. No, you have different looks, different feels, different appeals. You know, why do you think Brock Lesnar had Paul Heyman as his mouthpiece? Because Brock Lesnar has a Mike Tyson effect. You look at Mike Tyson, and if you didn't know who he was, and go, wait a minute, that dude that was knocking everybody out, that's him with that soft ass voice? Wow. So yeah, everybody's not good at promos. Why do you think that they have mouthpieces for people? Why do you think that MVP speaks for the Hurt Syndicate? Same thing, man. It's not that these guys can't talk, but they don't have the promo skills to cut to where you really look forward to what they have to say. You understand what I'm saying? Whereas, you know, MVP will point out things and he thinks more on the fly. You know, but yeah, just things where it's all about a variety, man. It's like you guys clamor to see the same things over and over. You complain when you get the same things over and over, but then you say, you know, when you say they just keep giving us the same thing, but when you get something different, you don't know how to respect that or appreciate that. And you know, notice everybody that AEW has been recruiting, they come from either, WWE has been recruiting, they either come from AEW, right, or AAA, or, you know, a Japanese-based promotion. Why aren't they recruiting people from the NWA? Why aren't they recruiting people from MLW? Why aren't they? See, this is exactly my point. Now, Jacob Fatu came from MLW, but Jacob Fatu's family is in the WWE, just like Zilla Fatu. He's the youngest. And at some point, they'll try to recruit him as well. And when you look at, you know, like patterns and people start replacing people with other people that have the same, you know, type of aura, the same type of image, at some point, man, it plays out. Because what you want to see, well, at least for myself, I like to see people that can not just act the character out, but entertain you to the point that you want to see this character, you want to see this wrestler. Because you see, like back in the day, wrestlers felt like real live superheroes. The difference is the characters went from being like a real live Incredible Hulk, a real live Booster Gold, a real live Conan, a real live Hercules, you know. Now the characters are more like Hawkeye, Batman, you understand? The Punisher. You know, interesting characters, yeah, but not so much superheroes. You understand? Just heroes. It's a difference. And the interest, you see, what happens is, this is why I don't respect when companies talk about money. It's okay to explain to someone that your company is successful, don't believe the rumors or whatever, and that's fine. But when your goal is just to be the richest, or money, that's, I don't care what the genre is. For all you youngins, ask your parents what the difference is in music and entertainment, and I guarantee you they'll tell you. Singers back in the day really sang about things of substance. They really poured themselves into their music. Now it's about, you know, man, I was walking down the street and this bitch said something about me. She said something disrespectful. I cursed that bitch out. Right about that shit. Everything is, man, me and my mom had this big argument. And she said this and that. And she threw me out the house. And I said, fuck you, bitch. Right about that shit. Everything is just right about. Just express anger and dislike and hate. And if you think about the majority of the songs that you hear, that's all it's about. A no good man, some no good bitch, a bunch of fuck niggas, a bunch of hating ass niggas. Fuck nigga, when I see you, it's on fight. You a bunch of fuck niggas. That's all. Nobody's talking about nothing. Nobody's talking about nothing. If you speak about something of substance and you really have skills and talent to really put some masterful shit together, people don't want to hear that shit. And they'll say, if that motherfucker's all that good, how come he's not selling more money than that motherfucker that's talking all that bullshit, putting poison into your system? Your kids are hearing this kind of shit, and That's why they go to school and get suspended and get, written up all the time and getting in trouble, because they're exposed to this type of bullshit. But nobody wants to do anything positive. Nobody wants to speak to uplift. So you understand, it's always going to be a divide. And what leans to the more shady, the more dark side of things, the more negative side, that's what people embrace, unfortunately. But hey, I tell you what, if you really understand what you're watching and the fact that you don't have to watch it, I tell everybody, if you don't like something, that's fine. My thing is all the bashing and all of the lies and all of the he said, she said, and if I hear something negative, that's what I want to talk about. I want to tell everybody how this company's gonna fall apart in six months. They're gone and they're gonna go out of business, and all the things you guys said about AEW, TNA, that you want to be able to, you wish that on AEW so much, but you guys realize that nope, that's not happening. AEW is doing just fine. So when people are saying all these stupid things and all these, expressing all of this hate, I don't understand how you guys listen to these things and don't feel like a complete buffoon. But like I said, like people had signs up at one of the more recent SmackDowns or whatever it was, whichever one, Raw, I think it was Raw, whichever one John Cena was on last. And people had signs up saying, we are awful people. Like, yeah, you're proud of it too. A bunch of miserable, lame, awful people. You know what I'm saying? Who's proud about that, man? Who's proud about that? Anyways, AEW's been doing a phenomenal job, man. They listen, they've been like putting matches together to where not only do they deliver in the ring, but they put the matches together to where the chemistry between the two, when it starts building up within their storylines, and they're telling you, they're speaking to each other about the match, like what's going on with Will Ospreay, for example. Now, he's trying to get Swerve Strickland to see things differently. He believes in Hangman Adam Page. Swerve doesn't. Now, here's the deal when it comes to face versus heel. This generation is more like even faces don't get along, right? So what I believe is going to happen, regardless, because you see Swerve and Will Ospreay almost got into it and had to be separated at one of their last shows. So what I really believe is that it's going to be understood that people have failed to get that title from Jon Moxley in the past because the Death Riders stick together while these other people go into business for themselves, and it's all about them. They're going to realize, hey man, we're going to need to stick together. Whether it's the night of or right before or however, because they're not going to take that title off of Moxley without sticking together, because Moxley's never going to give these guys a fair fight. Moxley's always going to have the Death Riders, and they're always going to cheat. So until that fashion breaks up or whatever, that's what you're going to get. So, I love the mature build, man. I love the grown-up stuff. I'm not into this. I'm really not into this, silly stuff. I don't care about people having gimmicks and having certain things that they do repeatedly that gets the fans' attention. It's not that I'm so much against that. I just don't like when that's all there is. Like, it just doesn't, if I see something and it gets me to where I feel like, I actually like that, because it can happen. Because, like, for example, I don't really like dramas, right? But a movie like Original Sin and Memoirs of a Geisha, like, I love those movies. That's something normally that I don't really like. So this is the point what I'm saying. When something's done well, and to each his own. Everybody is gonna like something differently, But when I watched those movies, I said, damn, I actually like these movies, And I didn't even watch them just to watch them. They just happened to be on. And I'm like, wow. Actually, Memoirs of a Geisha, I was in a video store back in the day called Suncoast Video. And they used to play videos up there. And the movie was on, I'm watching it, and I say, hey, what is this movie, man? And the guy told me, and I said, do you have this? He said, oh yeah, we got it. He said, just got it yesterday too. And I bought that movie, man. I absolutely love that movie. You know, and Original Sin, like I said, those are usually movies I don't really like. But I like that one, you know. So yeah, it's like certain gimmicks I can deal with, man. But like the more childish, more kiddie type antics, I don't really get into that stuff, man. And that's one of the main reasons why when I tell you guys, when we're watching anything, the idea is to enjoy. There's people that truly look for something to complain about. And, you know, unfortunately for you WWE fans, you can't find anything to like. And so don't try to rub your stink off on us that love AEW, because AEW is giving us, you know, things to pay attention to. They're giving us things to, you know, indulge in. And you guys are just sitting here telling yourselves that, you know, everything sucks. This era of wrestling sucks. Well, you said it yourself that the WWE sucks, right? So, at the same time, that's the only company that you feel is worthy of doing anything. But I'm not stupid. I know you guys secretly watch AEW and you love AEW, but you just can't admit it. And that's why you'll try to sneak in. Like they'll try to do some half-ass shit, like say, MJF had a good segment, or Tony Storm had a good segment, or, you know, Daniel Garcia had a good segment, or like whatever, man. Why were you even watching? So you sat there and just watched, or you just happened to time it perfectly, right? And just happened to tune in when that segment was on. Nah, it's foolish, man. It's really foolish, but this is the way you guys roll. And I'm just saying, for myself, that's on point. That's on point. I am not the type of person that's going to punish myself and just watch things that I don't like. Now, if I tell you that something is not of my liking, with professional wrestling, because it's not like watching reruns of something, you know. It's live. Even when it's recorded, you don't know the outcome. I don't read spoilers at all. But when I'm watching because the stories are changing. And it's like when you watch a show, right? And the show starts to heat up towards the end, to where even if the show is good all the way through, but it gets to the point where right before something happened, like, what's the fallout? What's going to happen? It goes off. That makes you want to watch the next episode, because you don't want to tune in just to see what happened, right? You want to tune in to watch the whole episode, plus you want to know what happened. See? When I watch AEW, I love what I see. And in terms of storyline and what's going to happen yeah, the elements are there. So you guys can keep watching things that give you no fulfillment, no enjoyment, and then you're so full of hatred and immaturity that for some reason you feel the need to try to talk everybody else out of liking AEW, but it gets you nowhere. And the truth is, the people that I interact with that love AEW, when we talk to each other, we don't even talk about the WWE at all. There's nothing to really talk about. So aside from me making these videos, you know, my personal time is not spent with me focusing on what I don't like. And to be honest with you, there's far more, like, think about this. Look at what's happening in America right now. Look at how expensive things are. Look at how people are promoting racism like it's okay to be racist, right? Look at all of the negativity, all the murder, the dirty cops, huh? All of these rotten things, police brutality. The president wipes off, completely clears 150,000 dirty cop records. I mean, all of these things that's happening. Little kids being called racial slurs. Nobody knows how to get along. Look at everything that's happening. I would think a person would love to be able to just pop in some good movies, watch some wrestling, some show, whatever they like. If you play video games, to be able to just sit back, let me indulge in what I like. But unfortunately, a whole lot of you don't like anything. So it doesn't matter what genre it is, you're just going to find something to complain about. So, that all being said, y'all, I'm looking forward to tonight's Dynamite. And either tomorrow or Friday, I'll speak about it. I'm looking forward to it. It looks stacked. And this is how you put things together, man. Every segment is not about a story. Every single match is not about an actual story. There's short-term stories, there's long-term stories. Okay, and depending on who the people are involved and how well it's received, that can be a deciding factor with a lot of situations. But what I love about AEW's booking is that their matches lead to something. Their story leads to something. And then there's closure. It doesn't have to close the very first time they wrestle. But if there's going to be a rematch and you're going to continue with the story, then you need to have things happen in that build-up. That's not the same repetitive, oh, let me go back and say what I said last time. When Bret Hart talked about Ric Flair one night, Ric Flair fans saw it as him hating on Bret hating on Rick. But he said something that I always said myself. He said Ric Flair had the same match every night. Man, as a freaking child, I said the same thing about Ric Flair. If you watch him, the chemistry he had with every wrestler, Flair was going to make sure there was a spot where he could fall and do his nosedive. If he went to the top rope, he was never going to be able to make the move. And pretty much all he was going to do is jump off with the double axe handles to the forehead or something. But he always would get caught on the top rope and get gorilla press slammed off the rope. He had the same, and Bret was right though. Okay. Hulk Hogan had the same match with everybody. Everybody. And this is one of the things I hated about watching his matches. I had no interest in Hogan, man. Why is it everybody Hogan fought, no matter how good they wrestled against other people, when they wrestled Hogan and he starts beating him down, he starts doing, you knew what his comeback moves were going to be. And why every time after you, they all, even guys that were southpaws, would turn so their left hand would be in front of him and throw the punches, he block it. Throw a punch, he block, and he hit them. Same thing. Throw him to the rope, big boot, a clothesline, big boot. It's the same shit over and over. Now, for all those years that we were watching the NWA, then WCW, like AEW, all this other stuff, we wasn't seeing these things going on. Wrestlers wasn't doing this. This was just the WWE. Wrestlers wasn't having these same gimmicks over and over. Every single match, I'm going to beat you the same exact way. Now, your finisher was your finisher. But my point is, the WWE, WWF has always had a very lazy way of putting that out once they started this whole gimmick shit. But you know, it is what it is, man. And I'm making these points because honestly, the fact that you guys can't find anything to watch that you like, that's a you problem. We're good over here. And really, what I really want to tell you, tune in and watch Dynamite tonight. Watch some real wrestling. Watch a very well-balanced show. And understand, you're only hurting yourself. You know, when I was a kid, I watched a movie, right? And this boy was locked in his room. And with him being locked in his room, he was sitting on a bed. Well, let me say this. The boy was acting up in school. He wasn't doing his chores at home. And his parents told him, you're not going to leave this room until you apologize and until you think about what you did and apologize. And you know how they do, where they'll have like music playing in the background and they'll show the clock ticking, and all the time all he did was lay there with his angry expression with his fingers locked behind his head, right? Man, this kid had all types of toys, racetracks, everything. And the one thing that his parents didn't tell him is you can't play with your toys. But he sat there and had a whole day go by where he pretty much wasted time. And he finally fell asleep and had a nightmare. In the nightmare, things happened to where he learned that it's good to humble yourself and apologize when you're wrong. And then when he woke up, he apologized to his parents and everything, you know, all ended well. Translate that to real life. There's so many things that we can enjoy. There's so many things that we should enjoy. But most of you choose to just complain, to focus on what you don't like, to focus on how to spread hatred and how to influence other people to do the same thing. That's really sad. So I'll be watching Dynamite tonight, and I'm going to enjoy the show. And not only am I going to enjoy it, but I'm looking forward to Collision afterwards this Saturday. And this is what life is about. All you WWE crybabies, get it together, man. In fact, before I close, remember The Rock was making fun of Cody? How Cody, I need this. You remember that? And he called you guys Cody crybabies? Yeah. Even The Rock was making fun of this shit. You think The Rock don't understand? You think your final boss don't understand what's going on? Get it together, guys. AEW all the motherfucking way. That's all I got for you guys right now. Catch you in the next video.